Hey everybody, welcome back to another quick tie brought to you by Rocky Mountain Fly Shop. We're super excited to have them sponsoring this year. Remember, if you head over to their website, www.rockymountainflyshop.net, you can order any material, anything you see on the show, pretty much you're going to be able to find there. And everything over $99 Canadian is free shipping. So take advantage of that. Make sure you get in there. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this video. If you hit that little bell icon as well, that's going to let you know every single time we put out a new video, which is going to be every week for the rest of the season, okay? We're going to take you through another fly today. This one is the Near Nuff Sculpin. Ooh, there it is. Perfect, okay? I'm tying out of a Season 5 kit. Looks just like this. You can still grab your kits today if you head over to our website. And our website is www.flyfishingbowriver.com/TNLS5. You're going to be able to grab a kit today. Now, what do you get in a kit? Why is that of value to you? Well, what you have is you get both flies that we tie on that episode of that night. So Season 5, Episode 1, airing later tonight. We're going to have two different flies. You have the kinder, gentler mop fly and the Near Nuff Sculpin, and enough material to do this 5 more times. And you get a tie already flied for you. You tie right out of your kit, same place I'm tying out of. Super easy to follow along, okay? So let's get into this fly today. Let's head on over to the vise and we'll get started. All right, what we're tying on is a TMCO size number 4, 5263. Nice long streamer hook. Go ahead and get that secured in your vise, nice and level. What I'm tying with for thread tonight, I'm gonna be using some UTC 140 in black. If you got something in olive, even better. We're not gonna see a whole lot of the thread tonight, so not super critical on what color you use. Let's go ahead and get this thread started just behind the eye. We're going to snip off that tag. I'm going to work my thread all the way down the hook, right into the bend. Just lay a nice layer all the way down till I get back up. If you're anything like me and your hook's not perfectly straight in there, it might bug you a little bit. That's a little better. Okay, so now we're going to come up. I want you to grab the dumbbell eyes that you have in your kit. Okay, this is going to be the next material we put in. And I want you to imagine having a full dumbbell eye length. Back from the eye is where we're going to set our dumbbell eyes. Pretty easy to put in. Set them down. Take a cross wrap a couple times. Kind of get it secure to start with. And then you're going to be able to cross over, come to your other side. Okay, we want to leave a little bit of space in front of those eyes because we want to make this look nice and bulky at the head. It's important. Sculpins have nice, big, bulky heads. Okay, so let's take a bunch of wraps. Let's get this nice and secured where we want it. Now you're going to notice I'm not spinning these dumbbell eyes around the hook shank tonight. We're going to leave these right on top. And if you've tied with us before, we've explained it before, but you'll understand that where the weight sits is where the fly sits. So this fly is going to ride hook up. Advantages of that is that we're going to be able to keep this fly hopefully not snagged on the bottom, but lots of weight. We have these oversized eyes because we want this fly to be right on the bottom where the sculpins are. Okay, make sure you get that nice and secure. Once you do, I'm going to flip it up so I can see those wraps there. And I'm just going to put a little touch of some UV resin on there. You can put some super glue, whatever you like. This is Bone Dry by Solarez. I like this stuff. It soaks in really nice. Hit that with your light so you know those eyes aren't going to go anywhere. When you see the smoke stop, you know it's cured. All right, I'm going to flip that back up so I can see what I'm working with. I'm going to take my thread. I'm going to start working back. I'm going to get all the way back so it's sitting right about at the barb. Okay, we don't want to be down here beyond the hook bend. We want to be before that hook starts to tip off. Now you're going to notice in your kit you got some materials. We're going to start off with the soft hackle grizzly and olive here. Okay, we're going to have 2 of these feathers. Now there's 2 trains of thought on this. You could think of putting them facing each other or facing out. I want to face them out. I like the way that this moves in the water. Looks a little different, so I want them to splay when I tie them in, but I want them to be matched in length. So I'm holding them like so. I want them to be roughly a hook shank out the back of the fly. I'm going to switch hands over. I'm going to take a gathering wrap. Make sure that's cinched in there nice. Pull tight. And then I'm going to look from the top. Make sure they splay. Make sure they're even. Now those back here are going to move really nice in the water. I like how those are sitting. This is a good opportunity to arrange them on the hook shank where you want them before you move on in the fly. I'm going to use some of the butts ends of this feather. I'm going to bring those up a ways because I want to create some bulk in the middle end of this fly. We'll do it with dubbing as well, but that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to come to about the halfway mark, okay? Leave my thread there. I'm going to come in and grab a piece of crystal flash. You're going to see you have lots of it in your kit there. I'm going to grab just one piece. I'm going to cut it in half. So I've got 2 pieces in my hand. I'm going to find that kind of midway point on it, and I'm going to fold it around my thread. This is kind of a neat little trick. I fold it around my thread. I now pull upwards on it, and I can use my thread to direct where I want it to go. So I pull it right down on top of the hook shank. I start taking a few thread wraps back so it's secure. Now I want to take and grab 2 pieces and pull it to the near side of the fly, and take 2 pieces and pull it to the far side of the fly. Now if you see what I do here, I'll spin this. I use my fingers to spread them out, and then I'm going to run my thread back down the fly and secure those on either side of those grizzly hackle feathers. So now work them all the way back. The goal is just to have 2 pieces on both sides, and then I'm going to pull them back with the feathers. I want to cut them off just a little beyond the feather. Just like that. We got our crystal flash in. Okay, next material. You got some brass colored wire in your kit. Okay, you're going to have lots of that in there. Grab a chunk of it. We're going to tie this in. This fly is tied similar to a style of an original woolly bugger. So we're going to leave wire at the back end. We're going to tie in our hackle feather at the front, and then we're going to secure it with our wire going back forward. Okay, so I got that there. Wires pointing out the back. We at this point should have 3 materials locked in. Okay, we got our hackle fiber, we have our flash, and we have our wire. And of course, our dumbbell is at the front. You're going to have pretty much an entire package full of dubbing in your kit. What we're going to do is we're going to start making a dubbing noodle. Okay, so I am going to use a little bit of wax. Nothing too crazy, just some of this Wapsi Premium dubbing wax. It helps with this style of dubbing. I just put a light little skiff on top of my thread. Now don't get overthinking the situation on this dubbing. We are going to create just a real generalized sized dubbing noodle and probably have to add more. Okay, so I come in and I spin my fingers on it just like this. Okay, we want quite a big thick rope because we're going to try to build up a nice bulky body with this material. So you can see I'm spinning my fingers in the same direction, kind of like I'm playing a little violin in my hands. Okay, we want to make sure that we get that fairly secured onto that thread by winding it on. I'm going to work my way back, fill in any gaps that look kind of funny. What I'm going to do is I'll start with this. I'll show you this is probably only going to get us a little ways up the hook because I'm going to show you how much bulk we're going to try to create. So I'm going to start wrapping forward. Think about tapering a fly. So we get it thinner in the back, bulkier at the head on these sculpins. So I want to start building bulk as I go forward. Okay? Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect, but we're trying to kind of create a generalized shape. That got me about half the way. I'm going to repeat that process one more time. Little dubbing wax. I'm going to grab some more dubbing. Little pinches at a time. Get it worked on to that thread. Do another 3 or 4 inches worth of it, and that should get us all the way up to the head. And keep that dubbing handy because we're going to use it again to finish off the head of this fly. Just like so. Working that all the way down. Should be enough to get us all the way. Now I'm going to come back up here and just keep wrapping. Create that kind of bulk as we move forward. Forward, 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 forward. Finish that off right behind those dumbbell eyes. Okay? Very general. Doesn't have to be perfectly tapered, nothing like that. We're kind of creating a general shape. And now we're going to go in and we're going to put our hackle in and wrap it back. So you're going to see on a hackle fiber like this, or a feather, sorry, you have a little bit of marabou here at the back, and then you get into the actual hackle as we move up, okay? We want to use a little bit of both in this fly. So I'm going to come back to about here, because I want to use my first whole wrap to be that nice fluffy marabou, so it creates a little bit of extra bulk up at the head of the fly. So I'm going to leave some of that on. I'm going to peel off the rest here. So I've got that stem, looks something like that. You can already see as I hold that, you can see how it creates a tapered shape. So we tie in the thicker part of the feather at the front of the fly, and as we go back, it gets thinner, and that's going to create that taper. So you can see I have the underside of the fly. It's the dull side. It's not shiny like this side. I want that dull side to be pointed back down the fly when I tie it in. To secure that with a few wraps. I like to wrap that stem under the dumbbell eyes, like so, and take a couple more wraps, just so I know I have it good and secure. Then I'll come in, I'll trim it out, make sure it's good and secure. Now what I want to do is come to right here, make a little half hitch, which is just a simple overhand knot. It's going to save my work. I'm going to go ahead and set my thread over there on my bobbin holder. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start working this hackle forward. So I'm going to do one full wrap before I start moving forward. Okay? And I'm just going to have some nice evenly spaced out wraps. Moving back down the fly. Trying to kind of time it perfectly so I run out of hackle right near the back end of the fly. You could use some hackle pliers as well if that makes it easier for you. And then when I get back here, I need to grab that wire and pull that wire back and kind of out of the way, and then capture that feather with the wire and start wrapping the wire back up the same way that I just came down with the feather. Okay, and I'm wiggling it back and forth so that it doesn't trap a whole bunch of those feathers down, the fibers in that feather, sorry. Work it all the way back forward. I'm going to pull all the feathers back to finish because I want to pull that all the way in. One wrap, hold on to it, take a wrap behind it, a wrap in front of it, and a wrap behind it. That's how I know how to get secured. Now let's do that one more time. Behind, in front, behind. You can either helicopter that off or grab your buddy's scissors and cut that wire. Don't use any good scissors because that definitely will dull your scissors. Okay? Now, kind of fluff that up a little bit. Now I've built the taper into the fly. Okay? You can see that taper is nice and bulky. Tapers out a bit at the back. Now we're going to finish off with the head. We're going to use the same dubbing, but we're going to make a little bit of a different dubbing noodle this time. I'm going to make a dubbing loop. So I'm going to grab, put 2 fingers on, fold over top. I'm going to give myself about 4 inches of thread. So now you can see I've got this split here. It's my dubbing loop. I'm going to take a couple of wraps in front, toss it over, again, toss it over, again. Now I know I've secured. I went behind in front, okay? Bring my thread to in front by the eye. I just have my finger stuck in that loop. Do another little half hitch, little overhand knot to secure it. I'm going to get that set out of the way again. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to grab my dubbing spinner, okay? I'm using this Loon one tonight. I'm going to grab a little bit again of that dubbing wax, and I'm only going to put it on one side, just the bottom side. Now what I'm going to do is grab that same dubbing I was using before, okay? I'm going to grab little pinches, just nice little pinches, kind of try to spread them out a little bit. This isn't long fibered dubbing, so we can't try to spread it out too much. All I'm going to do is start setting these little pinches into that dubbing loop. And we're going to put quite a few because we're going to rope this up, trying to create some bulk in the head of the fly. So I'm just going to repeat this a few times, trying to get enough dubbing in there to finish off this head. You kind of got to center those pinches so that they're evenly spaced out on that dubbing noodle. Okay, this is going to be my last pinch. And I'm going to let go of that top thread so it pinches down so you can see there. Now, if it's not perfectly even, before I spin it, I'm going to try to even out those little pinches. Maybe snug them up to each other. So it's going to look just like that. And then I'm going to place my finger just above the actual dubbing spinner. And then I'm going to give it a good spin. Spin, spin, spin. Make sure it gets nice and tight. You want it to rope up. We're not going to brush it out or anything like that. We just want a nice bulky rope. Looks just like this, okay? Now I'm going to do a full wrap right behind the dumbbell eyes. Then I'm going to cross over forward, okay? So it's almost like a figure eight, like how we put the eyes on. I'm going to cross over in front. I'm going to come back over behind and back to the front again when I do that. And then I'm going to finish off with a couple of wraps right in front of the eyes. And I should pretty much run out of material at the right time, which it looks like I'm going to here. Use it all up. Bring my other thread back. Again, I'm going to do that same wrapping sequence. I'm going to go behind the thread, in front of the thread, behind the thread, in front of the thread. And that's going to lock it in so it's not going anywhere. I'm going to trim out that dubbing noodle now so it's secure. Make sure not to cut your thread. That'd be a real bummer at this point. I like to flip this up so I can see the underside. Make sure I've trapped all those materials at the head. Take a few thread wraps, build a little bit of a thread dam so none of that material is going to move on you. And then I'm going to grab my whip finish tool. I'm going to whip finish it right here. 1, 2, 3 wraps. Pull it in tight. Going to go one more time. I can go ahead and snip out that thread. I'm going to add a little bit of that UV resin again to make sure this isn't going anywhere. Just a little tiny dab. We'll do a little comb. There we go, just a little bit on there. Hit that with your torch. Make sure it gets a little smoky. Tells you it's actually curing. Should be good and cured there. Now all I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab, you can grab a little brush, or you can grab a piece of Velcro, whatever you prefer. And I'm just going to grab and pull a little of those fibers rearward. I'm not going to try to brush them up too much. I just want to pull them rearward so I can see the shape that I'm working with. And there you go, guys. That is your Near Nuff Sculpin. Super buggy looking. Looks great under the water. It's going to sit right on the bottom where you want it to be. All right. Spend another quick tie here. Thanks to Rocky Mountain Fly Shop. Don't forget to go over to RockyMountainFlyShop.net. Place an order today. Everything over $99 ships for free. I want to thank everybody who's tuned into this quick tie. Don't forget, if you're part of that replay squad, drop a comment so we know that you're here, and maybe you haven't watched a show or both. It doesn't matter. And maybe there's some prizes down the road for you guys too. All right, everybody. It's Tim Hapworth here with Fly Fishing Bover Outfitters, and we will see you next week.